Good morning. Welcome to St. Mike's to all of our visitors on this rainy day. It's good to have you. Welcome. This week for my 20th anniversary as a priest, I was trying to think of what I should do for my anniversary, and I thought, I'm going to do something a little different. So I decided to go to cooking school. This week I was in New York at a cooking school there, and took a week-long course in advanced pastry and baking. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun and really kind of pushed my knowledge of this subject, even though it's been years doing it. And we wear these chef coats all week. And so after one of our classes, I think it was Tuesday, I was in one of the little cafes there with my chef coat on, reading over my notes for the next day. And one of the chefs at the cafe comes out, he sees my chef coat, he sits down, we start talking, kind of trading chef stories and kind of things that he experienced, things I experienced. And we talked for about half an hour. And I said, chef, in full transparency, you should know I'm not a chef, I'm a priest. And he said, trust me, Father, these people need a priest. And I said, okay. And I said, I worked with them, trust me. And I think the last kitchen I worked in, I was the only one that did not have an arrest record, so we'll just leave it at that, right? Kind of a salty bunch, so to speak. But, I was thinking, though, as I was flying back yesterday from New York, I was thinking it was a really wonderful, wonderful experience for me of going back to basics, learning some of the basics, but then also pushing my knowledge of things I didn't know. It's a good mix. Maybe we could perhaps make that analogy in the spiritual life, yeah? What are some of the basics of the spiritual life that we should probably go back to? My opinion, for what it's worth, one of the basic things in the spiritual life I think that's really good for Christians, especially Catholic Christians, to know is this. Look, there's an important distinction between disappointment in life and regret in life. Regret can be a good thing, tough thing, no question, but a good thing. Why? Because we learn, hopefully, and we grow. Some people don't learn, and they keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Thus, we have this expression, maybe you've heard it, if you find yourself in a hole, quit digging, right? But some people keep digging and wondering why they're not happy, because they haven't yet learned those lessons. We have another expression regarding regret in the Christian life. It goes like this: God makes straight our crooked lines. God makes straight our crooked lines, meaning very simply, if you're like me and most of us, we've done things, said things that we're not proud of. We made boo-boos somewhere along the line. We can't go back and fix it, but we can do what? We can learn, hopefully. We can learn. That's what we call conversion. That's what that means. We're a better person. Look, you and I are not the same people we were 20 years ago, hopefully, right? Nor will we be 20 years in the future. We're trending, most of us, in the right way, hopefully. God makes straight our crooked lines. What's the difference then? I mean, assuming I'm right, it begs the question, doesn't it? What is the difference between disappointment and regret? Put simply, disappointment is something out of our control. Regret is something in our control. Disappointment. I applied to the school, I didn't get in. They passed up me for another person to promote at work. I didn't get the promotion. We're trying and trying and trying to have a child that we can't conceive. We're disappointed. It's out of our control. Regret is something that you and I have done or failed to do that we then feel regret over. Thus, we have the Confiteor we say at each Mass, I confess to you, Almighty God, and to you, my brothers and sisters, for what I've done and what? what I failed to do. That's called a sin of omission, right? That's called regret. But God does not want us to beat ourselves up, nor does he hold us under his finger like this. He says, look, did you learn from this? Did you learn? Okay, pick yourself up. Let's go. You got this. Let's go. Okay, that's fine. You're fine. Come on. It's like when you were teaching your kid to walk years ago. Oh, you got this? Come on. Some of us are learning to walk spiritually, yeah? It's kind of like this. Imagine that you have a 5-year-old daughter and she loses her first tooth. And she's excited because the tooth fairy is going to come tonight. She wakes up the next morning, looks under her pillow, nothing. She starts sobbing first thing in the morning because the tooth fairy didn't come. She experiences disappointment, whereas mom and dad experience what? Regret, because they should have put in a call with a tooth fairy, right? You get the point. Do we learn? That's my point. Do we learn from this? Hopefully we do. That's how we grow. Beautiful, beautiful image. In all 4 of the Gospels, it tells the story of 2 pivotal people, Judas Iscariot and St. Peter, both of whom experienced regret, both of whom sank into deep depression, both of whom denied Jesus. As you know the story, I'm not going to go through it all. Judas Iscariot betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. He realized they were going to kill him. He goes back to the guys he arranged the deal with, says, I made a mistake. And they said, take your money and go. He takes the 30 pieces, throws it into the temple, goes out, sank into a deep depression. Peter was also in a depression. But Peter, okay, that was not my finest moment. Clearly, I made a boo-boo. But Jesus would not want me to beat myself up. Pick yourself up, man, and go on. No question that years later, as that man was being crucified upside down on Vatican Hill in Rome, no question, he remembered that very moment. And he remembered the strength that God gave him. Funny how God sees what's coming in the future and allows us to go through these challenges now, so that when the future becomes now, we have what we call perseverance. Painful, sure enough. But we get through it, don't we? It's interesting, this beautiful, beautiful image of Jesus we hear in the end of John's Gospel. And Peter denied Jesus sitting around a charcoal fire. I don't know this guy. It says he was sitting around a charcoal fire on Good Friday night. Fast forward a few days, Jesus is resurrected. And now he's sitting around a new charcoal fire with the apostles, and Jesus is cooking them breakfast. Maybe he went to cooking school, I don't know, right? But imagine this scene, right? The apostles are sitting around, you can hear a pin drop. Because they all know who he is. Now Jesus is cooking breakfast with fish, and they can see the holes in his hands as he's cooking breakfast. Nobody's saying anything. So sitting right next to him is St. Peter, right, who just denied him. Jesus, he doesn't even bring it up. You know what he says? Does anybody know what he says? He asks him a question. Simon, son of John, do you love me? Well, yes, of course I love you. Feed my sheep. He asks him the same question 3 times. Never brings it up, what he did. Didn't care. All he wants to know is this. Look, I know what you did. You know what you did. Have you learned? Okay, good. Let's go. It's the same with us. It's the same with us. Finding healing from regret means we're not beating ourselves up, but we do learn from it. We take the Petrine path, as they would say, of learning. I recently read a book. It's an awesome book. It's called The Power of Regret. by a guy named Dr. Daniel Pink from Yale. He did the largest study ever done around the world of regret. He interviewed over 8,000 people around the world, all ages, different faiths, and he asked them one question. What do you regret the most in your life, and why? Really interesting, the data on this. It's really interesting. People regretted far more what they did not do than what they did do. They regretted far more what they did not do than what they did do. i.e., I wish I had spent more time with my children as they were growing up. I wish I had spent more time with my elderly parents before they passed. I wish while my spouse and I were still physically able, we had traveled more. I wish that I had gone back for that extra degree that I intended on doing but never did. And then, of course, there were things they regretted. I forget my anniversary, whatever it was. But they learn and they grow on. There's a woman I knew years ago. I'll just share this story with you. Wonderful woman. By her own admission, when she was at a school here in Memphis, all-girls school, and she was Miss Popularity in school. I think she was like the homecoming queen, Miss Popularity. Got invited to all the parties. Beautiful young woman at the time. And she said, Father, I'm not proud of this, but when I was in high school, there was 2 girls in our class that I bullied relentlessly. I'm not proud of it, but I did. Fast forward many years later, now the roles are reversed. Her granddaughter's in that same school, and her granddaughter is being bullied. And she said, I feel this conflict in me that on the one hand, I'm angry and I want to defend my granddaughter. On the other hand, the regret that I have, because I can't go back to those girls in my class and say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And if you've ever been bullied, or you've done the bullying, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Tattoos the heart, right? We can't go back and change it. Peter couldn't go back and change it. What we can do is learn, and that, my friends, is how we become better human beings. The power of regret. I'll close with this. Do you know that during the Second World War, we lost almost 100,000 pilots? The Allies lost roughly 100,000 pilots in those 4 years. The average age, 22 years old. 22-year-old men, one of whom was a man named Quentin Ananson. Died in 2008. He's buried in Arlington in D.C. Quentin Ananson, before he died, did interviews, and he was just saying that a lot of the pilots in World War II, I didn't know this, he said they didn't want to get to know the other ones. They didn't even want to know their names, the guys that they were flying with. Any idea why? Because tomorrow they're dead. I don't want to get to know you, man. I wish you the best. I don't want to get to know you. They're fighting next to each other. And they interviewed him and they said, do you regret anything? He said, I don't regret our missions. We had a job to do. We were asked to do it. It was our orders. That's what we did. He said, but I do regret not taking the time to get to know my brothers that I was flying next to. And I share this with you for this reason. Who could blame these 20, 21, 22-year-old young men for taking that approach? I'd do the same thing. Most of us would. Have you ever been so hurt and betrayed by another person that you cocoon your heart? Most of us know what it's like to have a friend at some point that you have a falling out. And our tendency is to close up, right? which is the exact opposite thing we should do, because then it gets worse, not better. What we do is we pick up and we say, that was horrible. Okay, what did I learn from that? And we go on, right? We have regrets in our life, all of us. That's not a bad thing. Because when we learn from it, brothers and sisters, we do take the Petrine path of picking ourselves up, going on, and becoming a stronger person at the end of the day.